explorers, and welcome to Shipwreck Cove, deep within the heart of the Pacific Ocean. My name is Ranger Kit, and I'm here to tell you a few things about these jawsome creatures. Now, to start off, there's over 500 different species of shark currently swimming through our waters, and that doesn't include the ones that don't exist anymore, like the megalodon. Can you believe they went extinct 3.6 million years ago? And if you think that's a long time, sharks have been in our waters for over 450 million years, which means they've managed to outlive the dinosaurs, and they're older than trees, which date back to 360 million years ago. Now, sharks can come in all shapes and sizes. Some are as big as your hand, like the dwarf lantern shark. Some can glow in the dark, like the cookie cutter shark, which uses a bluey-greeny bioluminescence to lure in its prey. Some can even walk on land, like the emerald shark, and some are huge. The biggest being the whale shark, which has been known to grow around 18 meters in length. But not to worry, as these guys are gentle giants in the ocean, only eating the smallest of creatures like plankton and krill, as their esophagus is about the size of a 10p coin. Now, we have 5 species of sharks in this tank, from fairly big to quite small. Starting off, we have the 7 black-tip reef sharks, which are the small grey shark in the tank with the black marking on their top fin, otherwise known as the dorsal fin. We have the 1 grey reef shark, who's a bit bigger than the black tips, and she is all grey with a white underbelly. 3 Caribbean nurse sharks, there goes one of them now at the top of the tank. These guys are long, dark brown sharks with little moustaches on the fronts of their mouths. 1 tawny nurse shark, who's the exact same shape and size as the Caribbeans, but she is all white and has those same little moustaches. Then our 2 sand tiger sharks, who are the big, scary ones up at the top. And then, lastly but not leastly, our very strange-looking creature down the bottom, but I'll get onto her towards the end. Starting off though with the smallest and quickest sharks in the tank, the 7 black-tip reef sharks, and our 1 grey reef shark, who is called Lady Grey. There she goes now towards the front of the tank. Now, these guys can reach speeds of up to 31 miles an hour, but they're not actually the fastest sharks in the world. The fastest is the short fin mako, which can reach speeds of 50 miles an hour. And one of the reasons that these guys can swim so quickly is because the main frame of their skeleton is not made out of bone. It is made out of cartilage, which is that soft, squishy material in your nose and your ears. You guys wiggle your nose or your ears? When sharks die, their bodies break down, and the cartilage inside their bodies break down with them, leaving behind the bones for the jaw, spine, and teeth, as they are the only ones in their bodies reinforced with calcium, just like our bones and teeth are for swimming and for chomping. And this is also why we've never seen a full shark fossil, as that cartilage is unable to be preserved in rock. But their teeth are also another good reason as to why they can swim so quickly, as the teeth in their mouths are not the only teeth in their bodies. You see, sharks have millions and millions of tiny teeth covering their entire surface layer of skin. It makes some sharks very, very rough. So rough, in fact, that if you were to stroke them one way, it can sand down bones and cut through the skin on your hand. But some sharks are very smooth, kind of like our nurse sharks, which are the next ones up on our tour, in a way. Now, we've got 4 different nurse sharks in here, but 2 different species. We've got 3 Caribbean nurse sharks, which are the long, dark brown sharks with the little moustaches on the fronts of their mouths. You can actually see one of them swimming around the tank just now. He's got a fairly big belly. Then we've got our 1 tawny nurse shark, who is actually called Carol. Now, Carol, you can see sleeping right at the back of the tank. You can kind of see her nose just poking around the edge of the big Easter Island head in the middle of the tank. Now, Carol's well known by our aquarists as a bit of a love bug, as when they do dive in on occasion, she's been known to rub up to them in hopes for some attention, which they very, very gladly give her. Our Caribbean nurse sharks, though, are called Ashley, Belle, and Dean. Dean is currently swimming around the tank, but Ashley and Belle are actually having a nap underneath the shark cage. Now, when I say having a nap, it may be a bit confusing, because most people think sharks need to keep swimming in order to breathe. And you're not technically wrong in thinking that. Some sharks must keep moving in order to swim, in order to breathe, sorry. This is because they breathe through something called ram ventilation. As they swim, they ram water over their gills so that they can keep breathing. But most species of shark breathe through something called buccal pumping, which means they manually pump water over their gills to take in their oxygen. So if you ever got close enough to our nurse sharks when they were having a nap, you'd actually be able to see them pumping their gills to take in their oxygen. In fact, those big scary looking ones up at the top, Zippy and Bungle, are sand tigers, and they can switch between the two types of breathing depending on how fast or how slow they would like to swim. As they're swimming quite slowly, they are breathing through buccal pumping, but if they were to pick up the pace a bit, they would be ram ventilating. Now, I mentioned earlier they've got little moustaches on the front of their mouth, the nurse sharks. These are actually called barbels, and they're used for finding their food. You see, nurse sharks have kind of poor eyesight, very small eyes, don't have the membrane in their eyes to see in the dark, but they're nocturnal animals. So, those barbels have taste buds in them, which they drag along the ocean floor to taste where their food is going. Barnacle and explorers, though, for I have a sharp tale to tell. It was a warm morning on the front steps of SEALIFE Aquarium when all of a sudden a figure appears, pulling something very large behind her. Was it a fearsome beast? A terrifying monster? She got closer and closer, and we realised that what she was pulling was a huge wheelie bin with an even larger fin sticking out the top.
Oh wow, look at this one here.
She told us she'd recently purchased a catfish for her home aquarium, but this fish had an appetite she was not prepared for. The beast ate and ate as it grew and burst through her tank, sending water all over her living room floor. And we took one look at this magnificent beast she'd mistaken for a catfish and realised it was actually a species of cat shark. And that shark is Dean. And there he is, swimming along the left-hand side of the tank, one of our two male Caribbean nurse sharks. And now I emphasise male because his big belly can be a bit misleading sometimes. A lot of people think he's pregnant, but he is just kind of chubby, as you can see. He had to grow downwards instead of lengthwise because he didn't have enough room in his tank. When he got popped in here, he did obviously eventually grow lengthwise as well, but kept his big belly. But enough story time, on to our two sand tiger sharks, the big scary ones up at the top. Now their names are Zippy and Bungle, and the way to tell the difference between Zippy and Bungle is by the birthmark on Bungle's forehead. It's in the shape of a silver coin, and he's also got a big brown spot on the left-hand side of his body as well. So when you are upstairs by the top of the tank, do keep an eye out for that birthmark, and then you'll know which one is which. But enough of that, let's talk about sharks' teeth for a second. Sharks have multiple rows of teeth that go into the backs of their mouths and work a bit like a conveyor belt. When one falls out, the one from behind pushes itself forward, so they always have a front row of teeth. Our sand tigers have 3 rows of teeth, but some sharks do have more. And they'll lose around 30,000 teeth in just one lifetime, which adds up to 3 teeth a week. Now this is a dangerously high number, as they can often lose too many, but you'll sometimes see a few of their teeth littering the bottom of the tank. Now you may be wondering why our sharks aren't eating any of the little fish in their tank.
Yes.
And that is because they know exactly when and where they're going to get fed.